The RODEcaster Video is honestly the most exciting piece of gear I've bought in years. But it's also frustrated me more than anything else on my desk. Why? Because Rode built something that was so close to being perfect, and then they left a huge hole in the middle of it. And if you're a podcaster or a content creator like me, those flaws might be a deal breaker. Hey, I'm Sanjay, I'm a videographer and podcast producer from the UK. Stick around and I'm going to show you exactly what works, what doesn't, and why I'm still using it every day despite those flaws. This is not your typical first impressions or review video. And no, I did not get given a review unit. I've been using this thing for several months now, really putting it through its paces in my own workflow. And I want to give you my honest truth about whether it lives up to the hype. So historically, I've used the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO in my podcast production workflow. So when Rode dropped the RODEcaster Video, I was instantly intrigued. I'll be making direct comparisons throughout this video to help you understand how these two switches stack up against each other. Now, if you're not familiar, the RODEcaster Video is essentially what you get if you merged a Blackmagic ATEM switcher with a RODEcaster Pro audio mixer. It's Rode's attempt to creating an all-in-one solution for content creators, podcasters, and live streamers. So what exactly does this thing do? Well, the RODEcaster Video allows you to switch up to 6 video sources. That's 4 HDMI inputs plus 2 USB-C ports for compatible webcams or USB devices. Now, I know you might be thinking that the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO has 8 HDMI inputs, and you're absolutely right. This is slightly more limited, but for most use cases, 4 HDMI inputs is plenty. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. This is a 1080p only workflow, not 4K. Now, that's annoyed a lot of people online. But here's the thing, even ATEM switchers at this price point do not do 4K. To get 4K switching, you're looking at spending at least $5,000 US. And honestly, for most content creation, 1080p is still perfectly fine. I've been really impressed with the 1080p recordings from the RODEcaster Video. And just like the ATEM, you get 2 HDMI outputs, which you can configure to either the program output or the multi-view, which gives you an overview of your entire production. Then come your USB ports. I love that they are all USB-C. Can we just be done with USB-A already, please? Inputs 4 and 5 allow you to connect USB webcams as video sources, expanding the total number of video inputs to 6. You can also connect USB microphones to extend the number of mic inputs. There's a dedicated USB port to connect your SSD for recording, and just like the ISO versions of the ATEM, the RODEcaster Video allows isolated recording, which means you can record a clean feed of each of the inputs. Super handy. There are 2 more USB ports for connection to your computer. Port 1 allows you to use your RODEcaster Video as a source in video apps like OBS, Riverside, Zoom, or Teams. And port 2 is for control, meaning you can control the unit via the RODEcaster app. More on that later. But here's where it gets really interesting and where it completely differs from the ATEM, the audio. You get 2 XLR combo inputs with the same preamps as you get on the RODEcaster Pro 2. This means if you're using a microphone like the Shure SM7B, you do not need a cloud lifter or FET head to boost the signal. This has enough clean gain built right in. It's well known that the audio features of the Blackmagic line of switchers have been somewhat limiting. Given podcasts are my main use case, this was really appealing to me. And as I mentioned already, you can expand the number of microphones by using USB microphones in USB ports 4 and 5. And given this is a Rode product, it's also compatible with their wireless range of microphones like the Rode Wireless Pro. It has dual internal wireless receivers, meaning you can simply connect your wireless transmitters directly to the console. The only caveat is that they must be the Rode Series 4. I've got the Rode Wireless Pro, and they've worked just fine. And then finally on the back here, you have 2 dedicated headphone outputs and speaker outputs. I have my Yamaha HS5 plugged in there, and I can control the volume using the dial on the top of the panel. Now, the build quality on the RODEcaster Video is solid. I mean, I really like the size, the form factor. It feels substantial, but not overly bulky like the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And there's a huge win here. This thing is completely silent. Coming from the ATEM, which has a very noisy fan that's constantly running, the silence of the RODEcaster Video is genuinely refreshing. When you're recording in a quiet studio environment or just sitting at your desk working away, it's bliss. The button layout is intuitive. You've got your 6 input buttons, 7 scene buttons, and function buttons for media, overlays, and picture-in-picture, and the multifunction knobs are tactile and well placed. Now let's talk about the software experience. You can control everything from the 2-inch touchscreen on the unit itself, but personally I prefer to use the RODEcaster app on my computer. Unlike the ATEM, just knowing that you can do everything from the console is really nice, especially when you're on the road and don't want to carry around your laptop. Now for me, the scene builder is where this thing really shines compared to ATEM products. Creating complex scenes with multiple layers, graphics, picture-in-picture setups is genuinely intuitive. With ATEM switches, you've got to dive into programming macros or using workarounds like mix effects. Whilst you can do way more with macros on the ATEM, for my personal use case, having large buttons to trigger scenes and overlays is much nicer. I can build a new scene in minutes. This implementation of overlays and scenes is far superior to what Blackmagic currently offers. Another one of those features is the audio mixer. This gives you full control over your audio sources with all the processing power you'd expect from a RODEcaster product. EQ, compression, noise gates, de-essers, the works. And here's something cool. You can choose to record your isolated audio tracks with or without processing, so you can have your effects go into your live stream, but clean audio for post-production. Now, I'm not someone that takes advantage of the built-in processing. I prefer to record my audio clean and then apply all my processing in post-production. So how does it perform in the real world? Well, I've been using this primarily for podcasts, and overall, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with. The video quality is surprisingly excellent. That 1080p output is crisp and clean. I set the program recording quality to high for the best results. I've been running my Lumix cameras at 4K and letting the switcher downscale, and the results are really impressive. Recording to external storage works flawlessly, and having those ISO tracks means you have complete flexibility in post-production. The switching is smooth, and I love having those scene presets ready to go at a touch of a button. Having those 2 XLR inputs is a huge bonus over the ATEM. The RODEcaster Video has also replaced 2 other pieces of kit from my desk setup, my Camlink 4K capture card and the Focusrite Scarlett Solo audio interface. With one USB-C port, I had both my boom and podcast mics permanently connected and ready to go. And I can have my talking head camera and my overhead camera accessible with the press of a button. I use input 3 to connect the HDMI out from my MacBook Pro so I can record my screen or my desktop for any tutorial-based content. I just love the convenience of having all of this production functionality available, whether I'm on a Zoom call, on a podcast, or a live stream. No more setting it up, no more configuring OBS scenes. Oh, and there is a power off button. That's minor, but handy. Take note, Blackmagic. So overall, my creator life just feels easier and relatively trouble-free since the RODEcaster Video arrived in my workflow. Okay, not so trouble-free. Let's talk about one of the headline features, intelligent auto switching. This is supposed to switch video sources based on which microphone is active. Sounds amazing for podcasts, right? I'd like to say it's been hit and miss for me, but it's mostly been a miss. The problem is mic bleed. In a relatively small studio like mine, when one person speaks, their voice is picked up on both microphones. The switcher gets confused about which source to switch to. And this is a simple fix. If there was a threshold setting like you get with the YOLO box, only switch if the audio goes above this level, that would fix it. But it doesn't exist yet. And Rode, well, they know about this. I asked their team at various trade shows this year, and they all said that threshold control is a highly requested feature, but as of this recording, this is still not there yet. So for now, I mostly do manual switching, which is a real shame. You can mess around with the priorities, and I've played around with that, but it's barely made any improvements. I've also lowered the input gain for each microphone, but again, the improvements are super marginal. And speaking of missing features, unlike the Blackmagic switchers, you don't get a DaVinci Resolve project file with your recording. With ATEM products, you can adjust your cuts in post if you're not happy with your switching decisions. It also allows you to swap out the 1080p ISO files for higher resolution 4 or 6K files if you've recorded in camera. This is incredibly useful and a feature that I have used often. Again, Rode says that they are working on an XML file export, allowing you to adjust your cuts in post, but as of now, it's not here yet. Now, the list of compatible devices for the USB webcam feature is very, very limited. I tried my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and a GoPro, neither of which worked. Rode says that the RODEcaster Video only supports USB devices that provide an uncompressed UVC signal with a minimum requirement of 1080p 24. Uncompressed formats are typically YUV or NV12, while unsupported compressed formats are typically MP4 or H.264. This is to guarantee the best video quality coming into the RODEcaster video to better match the HDMI inputs. This was rather disappointing, as these were the only two webcams that I had to hand. Another thing is that if you want to control the console via the RODEcaster app and use it as a video source, you do need to use up 2 ports on your computer. Now, the workaround is to connect it via port 1, which supports using it as a webcam, and then use the Ethernet port to control it via your network. For days, I had the console connected to USB port 1 and couldn't figure out for the life of me why it didn't show up in the RODEcaster app. So who is this for? Well, if you're doing podcasts, interviews, or small productions where you need 2 to 4 video sources and want professional audio handling, this is fantastic. It's perfect if you just want something that works without diving into complex software, using third-party apps. This all-in-one nature means fewer cables, fewer ports used on your computer, and just less complexity overall. However, some of these flaws might be deal breakers for you. A lot of them could potentially be fixed through firmware updates. Now, given this is Rode's first foray into the world of video, I'm giving them grace and hoping they come through and level up this RODEcaster video rather than waiting for the Mark II. If Rode delivers on those firmware updates, this becomes a no-brainer recommendation. So what do you think? Have you been considering the RODEcaster video? If you already own one and think I've missed something, let me know in the comments.